Greetings, Gemini and Gemini rising. This is your Western forecast for December 2024. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I like to start with the new moon. The new moon is in Sagittarius on December the 1st. Sagittarius is the other, the opposite, the spouse, the partner, marriage. That's the opposition. So the new moon in Sagittarius is emphasizing and keeping your attention and priorities with all this seventh house matters, from contract negotiations to starting a partnership to issues with marriage. That's what the new moon is directing Geminis. But this new moon is being squared by Saturn. Saturn is challenging and contracting. Saturn demands accountability and responsibility, but it's intention with the new moon in the seventh house. So one of the big themes for all of December is going to be from contracts to partnerships to your spouse, your significant other, where you, with the square from Saturn, it may be time to take on more accountability, more responsibilities. You may also be really worried about a partnership in business or personal, in marriage or significant other. You could be worried that Saturn, that you are, going down different paths. And now it could be a wake-up call. I got to take responsibilities. I got to take accountability with my relationships, my contracts, because of that Saturn. Now, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. Mercury is the planet of information, communications, ideas. So many Geminis love to just talk nonstop. In fact, when I'm doing a reading and the person just wants to jump in there and tell me all their stories, and so then I'm like, oh, where's the Gemini? Oh, yes, right. Their Venus, their Mercury, their Mars is in Gemini. I had a really close friend many, many years ago who was a Gemini, but more introverted, more quiet, was not the life of the party, but was really brilliant and had a really quick, sharp mind, but he was a professional writer. So he was all that communication Mercury was coming through the writing. Now, the Mercury is in Sagittarius, where it is in the seventh house from November the 2nd. So all of November, slowing down and stopping November the 25th, where it's retrograding, till December the 15th, and then remaining as it's moving forwards, bringing you more clarity with the Mercury moving forwards in Sag through January the 8th. So there's a lot of discussions, a lot of decisions, a lot of thinking about contracts, partnerships, marriage. Now, Mars is going retrograde December the 6th through February the 23rd. And Mars is all that impulsiveness and action and assertiveness, but when it goes retrograde, it feels like you're climbing a steep hill. It's taking more effort to get the same accomplishments. You're being more frustrated, more irritable with the Mars retrograde and Mercury retrograde. So when Mercury is retrograde, while Mars is retrograde, pretty much all of December, communications, Mercury, and action, Mars, are going to be feeling way off track, leading to a sense of spinning your wheels in both professional and personal ambitions. during these two retrogrades at the same time, you may be struggling to express yourselves, to be more clear, because Mercury in retrogrades, the misunderstandings, the assumptions. The Mars in retrograde, you're being impulsive, you're being a short fuse, you're just jumping to so many conclusions and misunderstandings. So the Mercury, we're dealing with contract negotiations, discussing. Maybe it's really important to really have a really deep, heartfelt discussion with your partner, your personal partner, your professional partner. The Mars is in Leo in your third house. Now, it's going retrograde on December the 6th in Leo in the third house. But it goes into Leo November the 3rd. So I talked about Mars in Leo in November's video forecast. Now, it's going to retrograde on the 6th of December. By January the 6th, it retrogrades back out of Leo into Cancer. And I'll talk more about Mars retrograde in Cancer in January's forecast. But just keeping it more focused with Mars in the third house. The third house has a lot to do with learning, meetings, interviewing, selling. But with Mars in retrograde, it's taking more effort. You're feeling more impulsive, anxious. Now, with Mercury, which is also a very business-savvy negotiating planet, in retrograde in your seventh, when you're trying to sell and negotiate or mediate contracts and partnerships, and the retrograde, it's like slowing it all down. And the Mars is retrograde in the third house, which could be sales. So in business, there might be some real tensions and frustrations with sales, or maybe also realizing you need to start interviewing for other projects to bring in more money, or learning new job skills. That's the Mars in the third. Now, when you've heard all this before, if you've been watching astrology videos, so Mercury goes retrograde about every 3 or 4 months. And it's the planet of information communications. So when it retrogrades, November the 25th to December the 15th, communications, technology, travel often face disruptions, causing misunderstandings, delays, and glitches. It's important to slow down the mind and all the decision making, review the details of any kind of business matters, reflect on past decisions rather than rushing into new commitments. And with Mars in retrograde, you also want to, because Mars is pushing forwards and being the leader and aggressive and the top dog. When it's retrograde, you could be pushing a square peg into a round hole. You could be feeling like you're going up a steep hill, trying to climb a steep mountain, because Mars is all that action and drive, and when it's retrograde, it takes so much more effort. So with Mars in retrograde, it's also encouraging more introspection and how to, and really reflecting on your anger, how you assert yourself, and reconsidering any impulsive actions. Now, we got to get to the full moon, and there's a major Jupiter-Saturn square for the whole world. But before I finish these energies for you, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and would like to see more of them, click like and subscribe. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can receive the latest recordings. The new moon is in the 7th of partnerships, contracts, marriage. And that's a major emphasis, a major theme for the month. But 2 weeks after every new moon is a full moon. A full moon brings matters to light, a time of culmination. What's working, what's not working. And in general, all full moons test relationships, whether it's personal or professional. The reason is the sun represents the individual, and it's in opposition to the moon. That's the full moon. The opposition is that confrontation, that battle. The moon represents the public at large, or the other. And with the new moon in Sagittarius, once a year, the full moon in Gemini is certainly going to bring a lot of relationship matters to light. With the full moon, anything that's been hidden, starts to become more realized, more exposed. Now we're talking about relationships, business and personal. And on the 15th, maybe the 14th, but mainly the 15th, certainly the 16th, the 17th. But this full moon is usually most powerful on the day, the 15th. The full moon is in Gemini. You are a Gemini, or your rising sign is Gemini. So this full moon, you're feeling very emotional, very reactive, taking everything very personally. This new moon is going to be squared by Neptune. Remember, the new moon on December the 1st in Sag is being squared by Saturn. The square, all that internal conflict, the Saturn, you're worrying that you're separating, or there's a lot of challenges that you need to really start addressing. On the full moon, now the full moon is in your first house of your identity, your visibility, your sense of self, but it's being squared by Neptune. So what is being revealed with the new moon, with relationships of all types? By the full moon, it is being aspected by Neptune. That could be secrets are being discovered and revealed. That could really test the relationship. Or disappointments, or just being scattered and unfocused and not clear about what you want. It's in your first house versus your relationship. How, are you losing yourself, your identity, the first house, because of a relationship? And what I get a lot in counseling is a lot of people are afraid to break up because they're afraid they may not meet somebody again, and they're more afraid of being lonely than resolving the challenges in a relationships or leaving a relationships. Now, Jupiter is in Gemini, and I've been talking about this once every 12 years, the end of May, the last couple of days of May 2024 into early June 2025. Expansive Jupiter is in Gemini. So overall, for Gemini and Gemini rising, you're feeling more optimistic. You're doing more traveling, more expansion, maybe getting more education, launching important new projects. That's for the whole year. But at the end of December, Saturn, contracting, restricted, cautious Saturn, will be squaring Jupiter. It's exact December the 24th for the world. This is impacting every sign. Jupiter, prosperity, expansion, hopefulness for the new year, and the Saturn could be contracting it, as frustrating it. Jupiter square Saturn could be bringing in economic worries and challenges around the world. The Saturn for you is in Pisces. Pisces is 10 signs past Gemini. So taskmaster, responsible, career-oriented Saturn is transiting your 10th house of careers from March of 2023 into the late spring 2025. Then Saturn goes, I think it's the end of May, actually the end of May going into the beginning of June 2025, Saturn moves into Aries. But that whole time that Saturn is in Pisces, it's overall a time of major culmination with career, major focus on responsibilities, building long-term foundations, and with Jupiter in Gemini, so almost one more year left of this, not quite, as it goes till next June. The Saturn in the 10th house of careers, the Jupiter is in the first house of new beginnings and new confidence. So there's a lot of very positive opportunities for career growth. But the end of December, and we got the Mars in retrograde and the Mercury in retrograde. This Jupiter-Saturn peaking December 24th, you might be feeling really worried and frustrated about your business. But this too shall pass, because when these two planets stop fighting each other, Jupiter, Saturn, they're in two of the best places in the chart. So maybe there's a bit of having to reset, revise all of your career plans and goals, and then go into January with some new prospects, some new ideas, and with the Jupiter in Gemini, you're going to be, for the most part, most of you, it's going to end up being a blessing in disguise. That things are going to start working out much better for you. So I want to thank you for watching. If you like information on how to book an astrology reading or to check out my 2-question offer, visit my website at gardino.co. That's .co. Until next month, be safe and well.